Hey guys, welcome to the channel. So in this video we are going to talk about open world dungeons in Throne and Liberty. So open world dungeons are one of the core content in Throne and Liberty, and a lot of other content is connected to this. But I see a lot of people just not properly farming these dungeons or just straight up ignoring them. So in this video I'll explain everything related to this part of Throne and Liberty so you can farm these dungeons properly. So let's get into the video. Right now in Throne and Liberty there are 6 open world dungeons. 2 low level ones and the others being level 50 dungeons. Each dungeon has a completely different set of enemies, and each set of dungeon enemies drop different items as well as some common items. So the common items always are like crafting materials, and unique items tend to be gear, weapons, and some special crafting materials. So when you are going to farm these dungeons, first decide why do you want to farm these dungeons. Mainly there are 2 reasons people farm these dungeons. First is to get gear and materials for yourself to level up, and the other being collecting gear and materials to sell at the auction house and earn Lucent. But if you are watching this video, I suspect you're the first kind, but nevertheless. Now, to enter some dungeons, there are a set conditions. Like for instance, this Sanctum of Desire dungeon. You can only enter this dungeon when it is raining. But if you're already in the dungeon and it stops raining, that's not a problem. You can keep farming the dungeon. But if you leave or die, you're gonna have to wait until it's raining again to go in. And remember, when it's nighttime, all of these dungeons become PvP zones. So if you are alone in these dungeons, I suggest you leave and come back in the morning. Now, let's talk about the key things you need to remember when you are farming these dungeons. The first thing is these Abyssal Contract tokens. Now these are really important, and I don't see a lot of people talking about this properly. So you need these tokens to get drop items in these dungeons. If you don't have any of these tokens, you are not getting any drop items from enemies. Every time a dungeon enemy drops anything, like crafting material, solent or gear, it consumes a set amount of these contract tokens. And these don't refill automatically. You have to farm these as well. Now, you can get these tokens from, first, by doing resistant contracts that you get from the contract manager. So you can see that here when I complete these contracts, each one gives me an Abyssal Charge Stone. Now each of these charge stones refill 50 contract tokens. Also, these co-op dungeon bosses also drop these recharge stones, but these refill 500 contract tokens each. And you also might have these consumables that give you 100 contract tokens each, so if you are out of the contract tokens, use them as well. Now that you made sure you have contract tokens, go ahead and choose a dungeon you want to farm. If you want any recommendations, if you are farming for crafting materials, Sylvanas Abyss is a really good dungeon for that. And if you're like a mage, Sanctum of Desire or Sardoma Island is really good. Just look what drop items you can get from each dungeon and decide based on that. But before you go and farm, be sure to activate one of the allied resistant contracts that you have in your inventory. You can get a set number of these contract scrolls from the Sundry Merchant weekly. Also, you have a chance of getting these scrolls from these pouches as well. Now, there are different types of these contracts for each dungeon, so be sure to activate one that you are going to farm. So, for instance, if I'm farming the Sardoma Island, I'm going to activate one of these Sardoma Island Resistant Force contracts. So, go into the inventory, look up the scroll you want and hit use. Now here, before you accept the contract, see the conditions you need to complete to finish the contract. Now here, I need to kill these enemies to complete this. And if I don't want to kill these enemies, I can refresh here and it'll give me a new set of objectives to complete. You can do it 99 times until you get a contract with the conditions you want. Now, why should you refresh? Let's say in the center I want to farm this staff, and the enemies that drop these staffs are geomancers, right? So look for a contract that has the condition for killing these geomancers. So you can actively farm these enemies to get the drop and at the same time complete the contract which give you these pouches that have a chance of giving one of the items here. And you can see that this pouch also have a chance of dropping that staff. Also, this abyss currency you get from these contracts, you can use 40 of them and buy these chests from the senior sundry merchant that let you pick one of the items in the chest and get it. So you can see how valuable these contracts are. They drastically increase the chance of you getting the items you want, so it's really important that you use these contracts. Also, if you're farming these dungeons, don't do it solo. Always farm where other people are farming. The enemies in these dungeons are really powerful than your overworld enemies, and if you get surrounded, you will die really fast. So remember to always stick with other players, and if you get any party invitations, join them. When you are in these dungeons, you will definitely get party invitations from people that are also farming these dungeons. Except those, because when you are in a party, every kill any of your party members get is shared with everyone in the group. So if you have like a quest where you need to kill a set number of enemies, when you are in a party and your teammate gets a kill, that's also count as you getting a kill. So you can complete contracts faster this way. Same with drop items, EXP and weapon mastery as well. When a party member kills an enemy, you also receive EXP and drop items from that enemy. So being in a party is really beneficial. You don't have to join them, but joining one is way better than going solo. As for the questions whether the drop items like armor or weapons you get from these dungeons are good or not, well, here's the thing. These are not the best in slot gear for any build, but these are really close to them, and in my opinion for casual players, these gear will offer more than most top level gear can offer you. To get the top ranking gear, you have to do co-op dungeons, arch bosses, guild raids and so on. And these are very hardcore farming methods and very competitive. And the drops are basically either RNG or crazy PvP heavy. So getting these are a nightmare unless you are willing to spend money on Lucent. But this dungeon gear is way easy to get compared to them, and you can get multiple copies of this gear and stack out your gear with multiple traits. So yeah, it's not the best, but it's very close and way easy to get. So I'll let you be the judge whether they are worth it or not, but in my opinion, they are very much worth it, and don't skip out on these. So guys, that's the end of this video. I hope this video cleared any questions you had about doing open world dungeons, but if you have any other questions, leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel as it helps my channel to grow and bring you guys this type of content. Also, don't forget to share this video to anyone who has any questions about open world dungeons as well. So, thank you for watching.